Oh, yes.
Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm very excited to bring you a review for the new Transformers Legacy Generation Selects DK-2 Guard. This oddly named addition to the Legacy line is a black recolor of the Earthrise Ironhide toy, and it's meant to represent the Diaclone figure that would eventually become G1 Ironhide. So it's a mostly black recolor, not to be confused with the Decius Army drone. And it also mixes in a pretty generous helping of some nice bright reds to help break things up. So, if you've seen my reviews before, you know this goes. We're going to take a look at the Guard's packaging, then we'll open it up, we'll take a look at the instructions, we'll see the figure itself. We'll be seeing it in both vehicle and robot modes. Naturally, I'll be doing plenty of group shots and comparisons today. And then at the end of the video, I'll get my final thoughts. So our DK-2 Guard comes in our new Generation Selects packaging, which is far more ornate than the original packaging, where we actually get some images of the toy here. So you get a nice little line art render of our DK-2 Guard with some cool little just decorative lines in the background, your Legacy logo, Legacy right here. This just wraps around the image that we see on the front, like so. And then we get a label here that has the toy's class and the figure's name. And then just some legal text, all that boring stuff. So that is the outside of the box. Now I've gone and cut the tape so we can see what's inside. Just flip this open. There's the Legacy logo again. And then we just get some more decorative line art here. Looks to be the same as what we saw with the lift ticket toy. And we pull out this cardboard tray. So they've gone full paper now. No more plastic in the packaging. You get cardboard, paper ties here. Oh, that fell out. So there's our Guard, just hanging out. Uh-oh. It would appear that my toy does not have a set of instructions. Well, ain't that something? This is straight from Pulse, too. I wonder if the instructions... I don't think they're underneath anything. That's just... Well, would you look at that? No instructions for my figure. Guessing that's a fluke. I'm sure this guy's supposed to come with them, so, well, I guess we won't be looking at the instructions. Well, that is something, isn't it? Got half a mind to return this thing. Well, unfortunately, I was not able to obtain replacement instructions from Hasbro. I actually reached out to them about it, and they said they were going to send me new instructions. I was like, oh, hey, that's cool. They sent me a PDF. So, not what I wanted, not what I had in mind. I was hoping for the actual paper instructions to show off for you and to have for, collectible reasons. So unfortunately, we're going to have to skip the instruction part of this video. So we'll just go ahead and move straight to the vehicle mode. And this is it. And it looks very, very nice. Obviously, it has the massive issue of the big feet hanging off the back that every version of this mold has. So, that's not any better. That's still like the big flaw with this mold, so if you were hoping that would somehow be fixed or go away, well, yeah, no luck there. You still got the feet hanging off the back of this Earth mode, But aside from that issue, overall it looks pretty nice. It's got this very nice old school striping here on the side that very much harkens back to an old 70s or 80s vehicle. It's got a big Autobot symbol on top. It's got kind of a smoky clear windshield here. Does have painted headlights and bumper, though the headlights are just all silver, they're not like yellow or anything on the actual light. Obviously nothing painted back here because it's his feet. And one thing that I think really would have helped spruce this guy up a bit is if they had actually painted the hubcaps on the wheels. They just left them black plastic, which does end up making the vehicle very plain looking because, it's like 80% just black plastic. So, bit of a shame there. Would have been really, really nice to actually get some paint on those hubcaps to make it look more realistic and just have it look a little bit nicer. We also have the unfortunate issue of having this red hinge right here on the front underneath the windshield. Really, really breaks up the color, but, not in a way that makes sense, right? It's not like a design or anything. It's just a red hinge right there on the front. So a bit of an eyesore, and it's rather unfortunate, but it's also not unique to this guy. There are other versions of this mold that do have an oddly colored hinge right there in the front, so it doesn't make him especially bad. It's just something that, would have been better if it wasn't there. So overall, it's exactly what you'd expect. It's more or less a black recolor of Ironhide, though his little side stripe design is, much more intricate and much closer to the actual toy than the more show-based Earthrise Ironhide's design is. And then as far as functionality, the vehicle mode rolls very, very well. No issues, no hang-ups, just glides nice and smoothly. So overall, despite its flaws, it's still pretty good looking, right? It's a really good just splash of color used on this particular mold. Now we get a nice comparison shot with several different versions of this mold. Starting out, we have the other black Ironhide. This is the Netflix exclusive Decius Army Drone, which is based off the Siege version, which is why the body shape is so different from all the others. And it was one that people at first assumed was going to be some sort of a Diaclone Ironhide. And then we got it, and we found out it's actually quite different. It's got a lot more silver and stuff on it. It lacks any red whatsoever, and is billed explicitly as just a mass-produced drone for the Quintessons, or specifically the Quintesson Decius. So a lot of people were kind of let down by this, because they were really hoping for a Diaclone Ironhide, or, DK-2 Guard, whatever you want to call them. So now we finally have that here, so this guy can finally just kind of exist in his own right without the disappointment of not being this guy, because now we have both. Then of course we have the nearest mold mate to him, Ironhide himself, and we get the two ratchets on the side, both regular and shattered glass, just for further comparison. So it's a pretty decent spread. This gives you a good look at just the main different variations of this mold, whether you're going from, the Siege body type to the Earthrise body type, or, swapping out certain accessories like the light bars. This drill attachment right here isn't stock, for anyone that doesn't know. This is just an accessory that came with the Centurion Drone accessory pack, but it is made for Ironhide specifically, so I like to keep it with him. So I'm not really sure which one of these vehicle modes I like the most. I think most of them have their pros and cons. I think I still may be leaning primarily toward your standard Ironhide and Ratchet. I really like, the colors and just the brightness to them. This guy's vehicle mode is cool and unique, but it doesn't stand out very well. It's got so much black on it that it almost kind of fades into the background a little bit. Okay, now we get to see our DK-2 Guard in his robot mode, or its robot mode. Not really sure. So the first thing I want to talk about is tolerances, posability. Everything on this guy feels completely fine. The shoulders, the biceps, all that. The waist, the hips are pretty good. Really no issues there. Like, fully posable, no loose parts despite this mold being quite heavily reused. And everything looks pretty good. You can see his gun is mostly painted in silver, with the exception of the 5mm post right there. You can also see he's got a lot more red going on than he did in the vehicle mode. You can see it in his shoulders, on the face, around the neck area there, and on his upper legs. So I think the robot mode is a lot more interesting looking than the vehicle, because it really just helps add an extra splash of color to everything, but in ways that, make a lot more sense than just the hinge here on the front of the truck. All right, we can see his shield being stored on his back, which is an option you have if you just don't like the shield, you want to keep it a little more traditional, or you just need somewhere to put it. Of course, it can be removed. You can place it on his forearm to form some sort of a riot shield. Put it on the forearm if you want, or you can put it on the shoulder, make more of like a long shield. Or you can extend this post to deploy barrels and turn it into a big bazooka-like weapon, pretty similar to that wielded by the Siege versions of this mold. And you can have him, firing a big 4-barrel bazooka at his opponents too. So he's, he really lives up to the name Defender because he has a shield, which is, a defensive item. And he's also got plenty of firepower to back that up too. So honestly, the name really works for a character that looks like this, right? Your big heavy hitter who looks like he's kind of near impervious to damage, but also has plenty of offensive capabilities too. So I like it, I think it works. And then for that extra mode, right, that sled mode, as we call it. So this one it's a little weird. You gotta like flatten everything out. Open all this up. And I think we flip this back. And you can have them right on top of this thing in kind of sort of a reference to the little battle station that the original Ironhide toy and the Diaclone toy that become him, included. they kind of flipped everything around this time. Never been really great at getting them to stand on these things very well. Honestly, I don't think the execution is, wonderful, but it's something, right? It's just like a little Easter egg. But you can get him riding on this thing, and picture him just kind of, I don't know if it's like supposed to be a hoverboard or something. Maybe he's flying into battle. It looks okay. Again, it's kind of hard to come up with many very good poses just because of the post placement for his feet. But it's just a nice little extra option to have if you want it. Okay, and here's our mold mate group shot for the robot modes. And just like the vehicle modes, they're more or less the same, barring some small differences, like having a different head for the ratchets, or some different car kibble in the case of our Diaclone here. But they all do some nice, interesting takes with the overall base design. And one thing that's nice is because of the very adaptive nature of his shield/bazooka weapon, you can put all your different mold mates in different configurations with that weapon, as I've done here, so they don't all look very samey. You could have a wrist-mounted shield, a shoulder-mounted shield, you could have the bazooka, you could have the backpack. You can do the sled if you want to. Personally, I'm not a fan of that mode, so I'm not going to. But yeah, it's a nice little spread here. They all look pretty cool together, and each one of them, I think, does their own thing quite well. And for one more group shot, I decided to have a little fun and place our guard with a bunch of his Diaclone buddies. So unless I'm missing something, this should be all of the post-War for Seibertron Diaclone-inspired Transformers toys that we've received so far. So for anyone that doesn't know, just going from left to right, we have Deep Cover, Tiger Track, Spin Out, Cordon, Exhaust, Road Rage, Silver Streak, and Lift Ticket. And as far as any confirmed ones coming in the future, we're getting a Shattered Glass Ultra Magnus, which can double as a Delta Magnus, who's based on Powered Convoy. We should have Burnout coming, who's going to be a black recolor of Skids. And then lastly, we are getting a blue recolor of Trailbreaker, though I can't remember the name of the toy. I think it's going to be something similar to this guy. It'll be like DK something or other. So that's, what we know of so far. I'm sure there'll be plenty more in the future. But even so, this is a pretty good spread already. And I mean, honestly, I had a hard time just fitting all these characters in one frame here. So it is really nice to see Diaclone finally starting to get a lot more mainstream appeal and get a lot of releases, because up to this point, outside of Masterpiece, it's been more or less ignored. Of course, I guess before Masterpiece, we really had E-Hobby and the Collectors Club to thank for bringing, more awareness to Diaclone-based characters. But now, I really feel that we're in some kind of a renaissance for finally getting these characters at normal retail, or at least, retail exclusive type releases. Nothing that's from an expensive hobby shop on the other side of the world, or from a very overpriced Collectors Club assortment. It's just something that you can pick up, typically online, for retail price. So the guard here is just adding to all this Diaclone goodness. And I gotta say, I really like it. I love seeing the main toy line that inspired Transformers. There were a couple other ones out there, like Microchange, but this is the big one that contributed the most. I like seeing it finally get that recognition and just being pulled into Transformers, right? Just being rolled into it and allowing us to have variants of characters that we're more familiar with. So to me, this is nothing but a good thing. And it's all optional, right? If you don't care about Diaclone, none of these are really must-haves. You can just skip them and just get the regular versions of the characters that these guys are, recolors of. And this completes our look at the Diaclone-inspired DK-2 Guard. I do like this toy. It obviously carries over all the faults that the Ironhide mold does, whether it's the weird feet in the vehicle mode, the big empty spaces because, they wanted to make a bigger toy at a deluxe price point, so they had to fill with a lot of gaps, like right here in the back is probably the worst one. But it does look good. I think the robot mode works better than the vehicle mode because in the vehicle mode, it's all black. Aside from the weird hinge in the front that really shouldn't be red, it's all black with some clear windshields thrown in. So it's not the most exciting looking thing. Once you get to the vehicle mode, I think he looked really good. The red face, that's kind of a new invention for this toy because the original toy that was, inspiring this and became Ironhide, it didn't actually have a head, right? It was like a piloted mech, so there was no head in the original toy. So adding the red on the face, I think makes him, pretty unique amongst the Ironhide recolors and retools. He's pretty good looking overall. He's got a nice amount of silver paint on the weapon here. And if you like Ironhide, you'll probably like this guy. Now, he's not going to be for everybody. He's quite obscure. He's a Diaclone character that has not been done before. At least, hasn't been given like an actual name, right? A lot of these other Diaclone-inspired characters, they already have pre-existing toys in some form. But this guy's all new, so he's a bit of a nobody. And not everybody really cares for Diaclone, right? They just want their Transformers, their 84 cast, whatever it is. So this guy is really more of a niche, just nice little pickup for someone who wants to, I guess, celebrate the history of the brand, or just wants a really cool, black and red Ironhide. I mean, he does look awesome. Some people might even repurpose him as like a G1-ified movie Ironhide, right? Because that character was black. So, there's a lot of options, I guess, and reasons why you may or may not want to pick it up. But I think if you do, and you don't mind the Ironhide mold and all of its little quirks that come with it, I think you'd be very happy with this guy. He comes together well, and he will really have a nice little spot there on your Diaclone shelf. Of course, that is just how I feel about this guy, so now I want to know what you all think of it. Do you think this is a good toy? Are you excited to pick this one up? Is it something that's on your radar? Or do you not care for this, either because you don't like the mold, you don't like the Diaclone concept, maybe the colors? Any and all feedback is always welcome in the comment section. If you like this review, make sure to toss it a like. Let YouTube know you want to see more stuff like this. If you do want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you always get a heads up when I post something new. I thank you for joining me for this very awesome look at the new Transformers Legacy DK-2 Guard. And with all that said, I will see you next time.